Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my cheating little sister? Back when I was 10 years old, my mom cheated on my dad with his then best friend, which led to them having a nasty divorce. My mom almost immediately after finalizing it went and married a guy, which drove my dad into huge depression and ultimately ending himself. I was the one who found him after I came home from school at 12 years old. The sight traumatized me for years to come and has made me despise my mom and the idea of cheating and any cheater. Fast forward 14 years later, and my little sister's husband found dozens of videos and pictures of her with multiple different guys, including some of his and my friends. And that led to them having a huge fight where he ended up throwing her out of his house. And so she came running back to me for me to take her in, and I refused. She called me a huge a-hole, and I told her to shut both her mouth and legs up and to go to mom and let her deal with this, since she knows a thing or two about cheating. And she left. Now her husband has filed for divorce and I fully support him. I have absolutely no sympathy for cheaters, and that includes my own sister. Now for the top comments. My sister cheated and I refused to help her. I help her children and provide a safe place for them. But her? No. I'm also still in a good place with my former brother-in-law. He's still my family. Definitely not the a-hole. I cannot imagine how traumatizing that was to find your dad. I'm so very sorry. Not a-hole. Seems the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Sister learned that crap from somewhere. Good for you for not going down that path and refusing your sister. I loved my sister with all my heart, R.I.P., but I would not have condoned her cheating. I don't condone anyone doing it. I watched my mama go through that crap with my dad and my stepdad. I'm jaded AF when it comes to relationships for that reason. Stay strong and cut them freaking friends off. Good on you for that. Your sister sucks, your mom sucks, and you were right to not help her. She made her own choices even after your mother and father's history. So knowing that, you shouldn't help her when it's obvious you would have someone you will hate living with you, as she reopened your old wounds by cheating like she did. You did everyone a favor here by refusing her. Exactly. Not only did she know about how much I despise cheating and cheaters, but she cheated on her husband with my friends, which I saw as personal disrespect to me and her husband. She also slept with his best friend, who was his best man at their wedding. So she is just despicable to me now. That is just disgusting. It's a clear sign of how she doesn't care about anyone but herself. The fact she could cheat, not only on her husband but with her friends as well, then have the nerve to come to you for help, clearly shows she is a narcissist. So let your mother deal with her BS and get far away from them both, along with all those friends you had. I do hope you cut all of those friends off. Those aren't friends. I am dropping them. Screw them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she tried to sabotage my relationship? I, 27 female, am getting married in 2 months to my fiance Jake, 29 male. We've been together for 5 years and I couldn't be happier. However, my relationship with my sister Lily, 25 female, has been rocky for the past year. Here's some background. Growing up, Lily and I were very close. She's always been the life of the party, charming and the center of attention. I've always been more introverted and happy to let her shine. When Jake and I started dating, Lily was thrilled and we all got along great. A year ago, things started to change. Jake got a promotion at work, which allowed us to buy a house. This seemed to trigger something in Lily. She started making snide comments about how I was lucky to have found Jake and how I wouldn't have been able to afford a house on my own. I tried to brush it off, thinking she was just having a rough time. Then, at a family gathering, Lily got drunk and told everyone that Jake had hit on her when we first started dating. Jake was mortified and denied it immediately. I was shocked and didn't know what to think. Later, Lily apologized, saying she was drunk and it was just a joke. Jake assured me it never happened and I believe him. Since then, Lily has made several attempts to undermine my relationship with Jake. She would accidentally send me texts meant for her friends, saying things like, Jake isn't even that great, and she doesn't deserve him. It became clear she was trying to sabotage us. When I announced our engagement, Lily's reaction was lukewarm at best. She didn't offer to help with wedding planning and continued to make hurtful comments. The final straw came last month when I found out she told our mutual friends that Jake was only marrying me for my money, which is laughable because Jake makes more than I do. I decided enough was enough and told Lily she was no longer invited to the wedding. She burst into tears, saying I was overreacting and that she was just trying to protect me. My parents are now involved, saying I should forgive her because family's everything. They want me to reinvite her and keep the peace, but I feel like I need to stand my ground. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she tried to sabotage my relationship? Yes, family is everything. So I will prioritize the family I'm starting with Jake. If you want to be a part of it, then drop it. Totally agree. Family's everything. Then mom and dad tell her to stop attacking my fiance and myself. Tell her to stop making snide comments. It should have been nipped in the bud a long time ago, mom and dad. Mom and dad are basically saying it's okay to be rude to the bride and groom, but when the sister is uninvited, that's somehow wrong? What message does this send? Exactly. That family is everything line is so beautiful it brought a tear to my eye. Sniff. So why the heck didn't OP's parents tell Lily to stop her crappy behavior? Because it's hurting OP. Isn't OP family? A wedding is supposed to be celebrated by people happy to see the bride and groom happy, which Lily clearly is not. So we're jealous, but should it be there? Not a-hole. If she's been this persistent in trying to break you guys up, she will probably cause a scene at your wedding. It's your day. Enjoy it. Not a-hole. God only knows what sort of scene she'd create at your wedding if you reinvited her. You need to tell your parents that if family is everything, then she wouldn't be acting the way she is, and it's her own fault she's not invited. And they can either back OP or stay home with sister bitch. I'm sure that OP has someone that can walk her down the aisle other than her father. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to report my sister-in-law for child abandonment? My 23 female brother, 25 male, and sister-in-law, 24 female, live with me. They had a baby in December 22, and I expressly told them I wouldn't be able to watch him unless previously asked to. I wouldn't watch him for anything short of an absolute emergency, unless they had asked earlier and I'd agreed. All of this was said and agreed upon before he was born. Well, about 2 months after he was born, they started asking me to take him for a minute, then they'd leave. At first, it was short periods, but it gradually got longer and longer until I reminded them about our agreement. It stopped for a while, but eventually they started doing it again. This process repeated on and off until the baby was about 6 months old, and I decided I'd had enough. So my sister-in-law asked me to watch the baby for a minute, her exact words, and I told her, okay, I have plans in a bit though, so I can't watch him for long. She told me it wouldn't be long and walked out of the house. About 20 minutes passed and she's still not back, so I called her. She said she was about to walk into a movie and would call me when it was over. No? So I tell her, I have a job interview, and I have to leave in 20 minutes. If you're not back by then, I will leave him in his crib and call the police to report an abandoned child. She arrived just as I was leaving the house, and they've never left him with me like that again. But I still get so much crap during holidays and such when the entire family is together. My mother also complains that she now has to watch him for the last-minute stuff they want to do. So I have to know, am I the a-hole? Edit to say, we all live in my parents' house together. I have lived there for almost 4 years. They only moved in just before the baby was born. So I have the habit of calling the house mine when technically it is not. To clarify, my parents do not live with us. They have an apartment. My parents were in the apartment way before I moved into the house. After we all moved out, they downsized and rented the house out. Their last tenants left about a month before I was discharged from the military, and my parents asked if I wanted to rent the house from them. I said yes and moved in, and I've been paying the mortgage. And since my brother moved in, we've been splitting the bills. My parents do not want to live in the house because they are old and have disabilities, and the house isn't really disabled friendly. My mother has diabetes, a torn MCL meniscus in her knee, and has dislocated her shoulder recently. My father has herniated disc in his back, and whatever the disease is called that slowly fuses your bones together, so is mostly in a wheelchair and occasionally uses a walker. The house is not designed for wheelchair use, so he can't even get to the bathrooms. He can only get to the living room and kitchen. Not the a-hole. They were exploiting you and you enforced your boundaries. Good for you. By the way, living with you, does that mean your apartment? Then give them a deadline to leave. Technically, we're living in my parents' house, so my parents make the call of who leaves and who goes. I've just lived in the house significantly longer, so I have the habit of calling it my house when it's technically not. Okay then, they're there to stay. But you are not their slave. And I find it significant that your mother is now complaining that she has to watch her grandchild. To whom is she complaining? To them or to you? Why is your family agreed that they need help but unwilling to provide it and willing to force you to do it? She complains to me. She has never complained to them about anything they've ever done to upset her. It has always been me. You didn't create this child. She is selfish for blaming you. Not a-hole. How can for a minute result in her almost walking into a movie theater? That is not a 1-minute thing. Your sister-in-law's dishonest. It probably would be more extreme and say, okay, I will start counting to 60. Once I hit 60, I'm going. No one can command your time without discussing with you. They all hold him for a minute trick, eh? My sister used to do that. You should absolutely use the threat of the police and child abandonment to nip this in the bud. My sister used to do this with her first child. She was 19/20 years old. It apparently hadn't gotten her fun out of her system. She would drop her son off just for an hour and didn't come back for 3 to 4 days. Once, she even left him with us for a week. And half the time she didn't leave enough milk, diapers, or clothes. We had to go out and get them. Our mother wanted to tell her to stop doing it, but I told our mother that if she did that, my sister would never bring the baby over again. She was the type to cut off her nose to spite her face. So I started this little game where, when she came over with the baby, I would literally stand near the door so she couldn't sneak out of the house without the baby. I had loud bells on the other doors, so I would hear the door being messed with. It took a couple of months, but I was quite successful in curbing my sister's habit of leaving her child at our house. She once dropped off the baby knowing full well that the only one at home was our younger brother, who was 12 years old at the time. That time, I chewed her butt for a full day. Poor child nearly in tears. He was so scared of doing something wrong. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my fiance for letting my daughter lock her door? Around 2 years ago, my ex-husband/my daughter's father passed away in a house fire. My daughter, 14 female at the time, 16 female now, took this very hard. She became depressed and had self-ending tendencies and thoughts. I did everything I could to help her, including trying to talk to her, giving her space, getting a therapist, getting a therapy dog. I've done everything. Nothing has helped. About 10 months ago marks the first time she had an attempt on her life. She had the door locked and I wasn't able to get in the room for about 20 minutes. If I had waited longer, she may not have survived. To prevent this happening again, I took the locks off her door. Just to clarify, I never walk into my daughter's room, or anyone's, without knocking and allowing them to say I can come in, so it's not a privacy issue. My daughter has since then had one more attempt on her life, and I still haven't given her the locks back. About 2 weeks ago, my daughter asked me to let her have a door lock again. I explained to her why I won't let her have one, and she got upset and stormed off. 20 minutes later, my boyfriend/fiance of 4 years, who has gotten very close with my daughter, asked me if I could give her a chance. I told him that if I do give her a chance and something happens to her, I would never forgive myself for it. We got into a pretty big argument about it, but it ended, and I didn't let her lock the door. 3 days later, I came home from work early and saw my daughter's backpack in the kitchen, which I had expected since she had taken the day off of school. What I didn't expect was for the house to be completely silent. This worried me since my daughter isn't a very quiet girl. She's always playing video games or playing music. She's never quiet. I went upstairs to her bedroom and knocked on the door. No answer. I knew she was in the room since I heard a fan on in her room and it's never on unless she's home. I knocked again and she still didn't answer, so I panicked and tried to open the door. The door was locked and I couldn't open it. I began to panic. I banged the door and was calling her and she didn't answer. I called 911 and explained to them what was happening and they got here and broke the door down. Turns out, my daughter had her music blasting in her headphones and was taking a nap, so she didn't hear me. I asked her how she got the door to lock, and she told me that my fiancé had installed a lock earlier in the day before he went to work. I waited until my fiancé got home to confront him. It caused a huge argument. He said I was overreacting and that I should trust my daughter, that it's an invasion of privacy and she deserves the right to lock the door. We kept arguing back and forth and eventually I told him that I wanted him out of our house. By the way, I bought my house myself and paid the bills myself. He continued yelling at me as he gathered his stuff and stormed off. My daughter understands where I'm coming from and isn't as upset with me, whereas my fiancé hasn't called or texted since. So I'm assuming that we're over. Am I the a-hole for kicking him out? Not the a-hole. He way overstepped. It is your house and your daughter. He had no right to overrule you in regards to either. 100%. Though, am I the only one who noticed that fiance plus no to door locks equals daughters who's angry and storms off, but no fiance plus no door locks equals daughter who's just fine with it? The fiance was advocating for the lock though. Maybe the daughter was okay with the no lock after seeing her mom break down like that and finally realized what locks versus no locks really meant to her. Not a-hole. You almost lost your child due to a locked door, and while she certainly could self-harm at another location or during the night while you sleep, you are her parent. You carry that responsibility and you provide her boundaries, and not your fiancé. You made your feelings clear to him and said no. He went behind your back and did it anyway. That's major betrayal, a huge violation of your trust, and it represents complete disrespect. Seems the trash took itself out. No, it hurts. Sorry. OMG. Been there. Spent time in the ER waiting for replacement. Still have some PTSD. We did not have locks in our bedroom doors for quite a while. Heck, I kept my knives locked up. Medications were under lock and key. Alcohol was under lock and key. Your child needs to know that her safety is your utmost concern. Make sure she knows you will do your best to respect her privacy. And she needs to know that it will take a while for you to trust enough to consider having locks on the doors again. Not a-hole. Wedding off. Immediately no contact. Especially since he knows the reason. Who the heck is he to go over your head on something like this? Nope. No contact. Done. Who the heck is he to go over your head on something like this? A bro who is always certain he knows best. A dude who can't ever be wrong. A Chad who wants to be the good cop to a bad cop. Discussing it is okay. Persisting the argument is already overstepping. Going behind her back to do it anyway is the point of no return. A nuclear option. I sincerely hope she drops this turd in the nearest toilet and flushes. Otherwise, she can expect more of the same for the duration of their relationship. For very far future consideration, most interior locking knobs, not deadbolt types, have a simple pin bypass to unlock. No key necessary.